myths this month. I thought we'd address the myth that homeschoolers have to do the same curriculum as children in schools, which, as we all know, is often referred to as the CAPS curriculum, where CAPS stands for the Curriculum Assessment Policy Statement that's used to guide teachers on the curriculum and what they need to be teaching and testing in the school system. So I think the first thing that we always say to new homeschoolers especially, but sometimes old homeschoolers need to hear it as well, is that home education doesn't have to replicate school at home. And I think after so many years of homeschooling ourselves and listening to other parents in the home education community, we've both come to the conclusion that it's probably the least preferable way to homeschool. I mean, how many parents have you had in tears on the phone?
No, lots. Yeah, it doesn't fit. You cannot take something for 35 kids and one teacher and replicate that here. There's just too many curveballs coming at you, and there's so many more delightful things that you can be doing with your children anyway instead of sitting at textbooks.
Yes, exactly. It's a system that's designed for mass delivery of a curriculum. It's like a one size fits all. So the school system expects every child to learn the same thing in the same way on the same day.
Yeah.
And of course, with home education, we have the privilege actually of allowing our children to learn at their own pace and to customize the way they learn if it's necessary, and let them, progress as they are able to. So I think it's to our children's benefit if we don't stress about trying to keep up with the kids in the class, but rather just make sure that our kids are learning. And the other thing that a lot of experts have highlighted is that it's content heavy and it's an outdated form of education, in that largely, especially in the junior grades, what it requires to pass tests and to do the assessment is a lot of memorization. And in this day and age where Google and the internet knows just about everything, people in the workplace and educational experts are saying that it's not so much what you know, because anybody can look up facts, it's what you can do with what you know. And so we have to focus on teaching our kids other skills besides memorization.
Yeah, and research skills, I think is one of the biggest things, is that if we and this even goes back to what Charlotte Mason says, is that we need to connect our children with information. And then that, it's like a seed put into the ground in the right conditions. It will grow, it will flourish, it will bloom, it will do what it is meant to do, which is produce fruit so that we can eat it. And the same thing with ideas. If we connect our children with knowledge and how to access information, it will do what it's meant to do. There is no need for us to now, orals. Oh gosh, I've heard of poor kids having such meltdowns in schools because of having to do orals. What are you going to do in your home? Are you going to make your kids stand up and, do the orals to the pets, because you don't have 35 kids to grade them? Those sorts of things. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the important thing is that we can have discussions with our children instead, and we can teach them to be discerning and to think critically about what they read. And these are the kind of skills that modern employers and experts are saying are needed. You need to be able to, solve problems and be creative. CAPS just generally teaches children that there's one right answer. But in the real world, you often have to find multiple ways to solve a problem. And you've got to be more creative. You've got to learn to collaborate. And communication is one of the big skills too. I read a business blog recently where somebody said, no matter what your business is, you are in the information business, because you have to tell people what you can do for them or what products you've got and the benefits. And I thought, what a good way to sum it up, especially when you have entrepreneurial kids who think, why must I learn to write essays, Mom? Or why must I study English? It's quite a good argument to convince them that they are in the information business, no matter what they do.
So then the question is that if we don't have to do CAPS as homeschoolers yet, it's not legislated, but the parent is nervous because they have registered with the Department of Education. Do you think that there is a lot of scrambling that happens in that kind of home to try and keep up with the CAPS curriculum when you're not trained in the CAPS way? What have you seen as parents have kind of sat with this issue?
I think it stresses them out and really puts a lot of pressure on them, because most parents who are doing CAPS are not doing it on their own, at their own pace. Most of them are enrolling with a curriculum service provider who acts like a school and gives them dates and deadlines, and the children have assignments and tests, and they've got to keep up with that schedule. And then the mom finds herself nagging her kids to do schoolwork, which they find boring. And it just spoils the whole experience of having a joyful learning experience together, you know.
Yeah, quite right. I must say that I get quite sad when new moms particularly, come onto Facebook and they ask for advice on which curriculum to choose. And a lot of parents are new to homeschooling and they've grabbed at what is most familiar, which is CAPS. And they haven't actually tested it in their home for much longer than 2-3 months. And you might find that in 6 months, 7 months down the line, that same parent that is pushing that online platform or that type of curriculum provider has left it. And yet they've told 100 people, because it worked well in the first month, you know, to use it. So there's this like perpetuating problem out there. There are some folk who, you know, if we think of moms who are working full time and they need to have their children involved and progressing through a grade, that they find that it works for them. But in general, we found that CAPS is more of a ball and chain to homeschoolers than it is, like you're saying, that freeing, tailor-made, exciting education that kids engage with.
Yeah, so let's talk about what we should rather do instead of CAPS. And I think one of the real advantages we have is that we can help our children to discover their strengths and build their talents and pursue the things that they are interested in, instead of forcing them to do a prescribed set of subjects. I mean, obviously we do want them to have the basics of maths and languages, but when we find that there's something that they really enjoy, we can major on that if we want to. And it makes learning a lot more fun if children are able to learn something that they like or something that they're interested in.
Yeah, definitely.
What else would you add?
Well, I think that if you have more than one grade in your home, which most homeschoolers do, keeping those pillars, you know, the two groups of subjects, like you said, the maths and the language, as your sort of discipline subjects, those get done year by year, layer by layer. You just keep on adding on the next layer. And each child at their own skill level, age or grade, however you want to phrase it, they keep on doing those. On the other side, you can put all of your children together to do your science and your literature and history and geography and your arts and your crafts and outings and that sort of thing. And it simplifies your life as a mom, and it gives the kids an opportunity to interact with information between them. So for me, that would be keep that maths and language going layer for layer, but have so much fun. And you said it just now, become masters in your topics on the other side and follow your children's interests. Pick and choose the curriculum that they are interested in that time. And, you know, maybe not all 4 kids are interested in astronomy, but everybody will be learning and engaging with the material. And then the kids that aren't interested in astronomy, well, maybe they'll get to do botany later on. So that's kind of how you and I both did our particularly our primary and middle school years. And it's freeing. And you also go on these wonderful learning adventures with your kids.
Yes, absolutely. I think we all get a chance to redo our own education the way we wish we'd been taught.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think is quite important is to not teach children to always try and get things right, but perhaps not even in academic, in the area of academics, but if they want to try a business, or they want to learn to, you know, grow vegetables, or they want to learn something else, to encourage them to give it a go, to take a risk, and to be prepared to fail, because often learning from our mistakes is a necessary step on that pathway to success.
Absolutely.
So, you know, school kind of taught us that it's wrong to get things wrong, but actually learning what doesn't work can be a really valuable lesson. And we should try not perpetuate that myth with our children at home.
Correct.
Long division, sure, there's only one right answer, but you know, there's many other ways to do other things. So we should encourage them to learn that and to learn character lessons like to persevere and to do things that are hard.
Yeah, I
because
think
then we can raise them to be independent adults.
Yeah, and resilient adults, ones that take that knock that the world will give them one day, and they can bounce back and stand up pretty quickly. I always think of, you know, those boxing toys that kids had with the weight at the bottom, and they were inflatable, and you would box it and they would pop straight back up at you. I often think of that's one of our goals as our kids, because life does knock you around, even as an adult. That's how quickly you bounce back, and we can do that in an environment where we are not all the time rushing to meet somebody else's targets and guidelines that may be completely arbitrary to your own child.
I think in closing, it's just the fact that we are positioned to give our children a customized education and to teach them that they're a unique individual. And, you know, when they've got that self-confidence, then I think they'll embrace the challenges of adult life more readily, perhaps, than somebody who's left feeling insecure because they're not the same as everybody else. Yeah. We can embrace that with our kids at home.
Absolutely. Yeah, well, that's great. So the answer is, do I have to do CAPS in my home as a busting a myth here? No, we don't. It's not legislated now, and there's such a lovely alternative instead. Well, lovely chatting.